And Harry and Meghan's year to forget keeps getting worse, with the money-minded Montecito runaways now thought to be struggling with how to rebrand themselves after a series of damaging blows. From hemorrhaging staff to having their £20 million Spotify deal axed after being called effing grifters by a top boss, the Sussexes are now widely thought of as one-trick family-bashing ponies who have run their course. And with a massive mortgage on their £40 million Californian mansion to pay, big questions remain over whether the Perma victim pair are going to be veering towards bankruptcy. So, Tom Bauer, you're saying there's a lot of confusion at the moment in Montecito about exactly what they do next.
Well, I'm told it's been a week from hell for the Sussexes in Montecito, and that what they really can't decide is what they're going to do. On the other hand, in Clarence House and in London, there's a feeling that they're finally getting a taste of their own medicine, which is poison. And so the mood really is at the moment, wait and see. But on the other hand, I do think the Sussexes are suddenly finding great problems about establishing or re-establishing the magic and the mystique which they thought they had 2 years ago and has now really evaporated. And they're really looking for a cause. They're looking for something to do. And this division, where suddenly Harry announces he might go off to Africa and make a film about saving Africa, which is just a nonsense, and Meghan, who can't clearly relaunch the tea because she couldn't even do her own podcasts, she has not forgotten how to work. So I think this week, from what I'm told, they've just been hitting their heads against the wall, trying to discover what should we do, how do we actually relaunch ourselves, rather than disappear down the hole.
Because isn't there a bit of a risk, if Meghan were to relaunch the TIG, that she could become the new Dylan Mulvaney, you know, that trans influencer who got a gig from Bud Light and ended up wiping off about 20% of their stock value? A lot of brands will actually be very nervous about associating with someone who provokes such a reaction amongst at least 50% of America.
Harry and Meghan, once hailed as the royal family's modern disruptors, now wandering the wasteland of self-inflicted irrelevance. Today, we are peeling back yet another layer of this ongoing melodrama, not just to rehash the headlines, but to explore how two people who once held the world's curiosity are now facing the cold winds of reality. Spoiler alert, branding yourself as professional victims isn't exactly a sustainable business model.
Well, I think that was the reason the Dior supposed contract evaporated. She has made herself, to some extent, contaminated. And how does a contaminated person actually sell? You see, what was brilliant about the Kardashians was, and is, they keep on reinventing themselves. They always create some huge new marriage or sensation or film or whatever. The Sussexes are only one trick, which is to attack. Yeah. And that has now turned sour.
They're the total opposite to the Kardashians, because the one thing about the Kardashians, whatever you think about them, I actually happen to quite like them, but they love their family, you know, and in America that's really important. Blood is thicker than water. They always stand by each other, even when they're disagreeing. Total opposite of Harry and Meghan, who threw the Windsors under the bus at the first possible opportunity. But look, Tom, as if things couldn't get any more stressful for King Charles, police now considering criminal charges over the Prince's Foundation Cash for Honours scandal. So this is not good timing, isn't it?
Well, it's very bad for King Charles, and I've always feared this was going to happen. This is to do with the extraordinary story of a Saudi businessman called Mahfouz, who gave £1 million in cash to the king.
Wasn't it Fortnum and Mason bags?
Yeah, not once but twice, or it was euros. And in return was told by his head flunky Fawcett that he would be elevated to not only a knighthood, but also get British citizenship, which of course is a criminal offence. Now, it has really simmered, but the police cannot bury it. And what we understand is that they're going to have to make a decision whether they're going to prosecute Fawcett or not. My suspicion is they're going to have to. And that, of course, is hugely embarrassing for King Charles and really, in the end, will cause him great grief.
Yeah, because this was his nearest and dearest when it
was indeed.
Advisors.
And he took the money.
Yeah, I want to talk as well about this update to Valentine Lowe's fascinating book, Courtiers. He's revealed that it was actually Kate behind the scenes who really lobbied to get that famous line, "Recollections may vary," in the statement eventually released by the late Queen Elizabeth after Harry and Meghan's Oprah interview. So Is she actually far more of a force than we have given her credit for, Tom?
Let's start with the basics. When you live in a $40 million Montecito mansion, funded by fleeting media deals and dwindling public goodwill, you don't have the luxury of endless reinvention. One-hit wonders don't make for enduring cultural icons. Harry and Meghan tried to build an empire on thin air, selling grievances, not solutions. And the world's finally caught on. Their Spotify contract? Toast. Dior partnership? Vaporized. Why? Brands aren't in the business of affiliating with divisive figures. Corporations value ambassadors who unify audiences, not stir controversy. You can't keep turning the spotlight into a heat lamp and expect advertisers to stick around, especially when your primary talent is, well, complaining.
Oh, I think we always credited her with force on this programme. You and I have always thought she was the steel behind any of the marshmallows in front, including the king. But, of course, it wasn't her phrase. That was invented by somebody else. But when she saw it, she realised. And, of course, this week of all weeks, the pictures of her with Federer today, smiling, looking unbelievably glamorous, sporty and really magnetic, knowing at the same time, hiding in their castle in Montecito with the Sussexes, fretting about what they should do, is just such wonderful boost for the Prince and Princess of Wales.
It's fascinating, isn't it? No big celebrities around the world want to be pictured with Harry and Meghan. They all want to be pictured with William and Kate. This is not what Harry and Meghan expected.
No, of course not. And thank goodness. This is what I said right at the beginning of the segment. This is now tasting their own medicine. The poison has come to infect them.
So they're toxic now.
Well, yeah. I mean, they got their big boost with Oprah Winfrey. They lied in that interview. Finally, it's beginning to swing the other way. And the Waleses are beginning to show that they can survive without the Sussexes and, to some extent, rebuffed all the poison they sent over.
Here's the harsh truth. Playing the victim card in perpetuity has an expiration date. The American public loves a comeback story, not a running loop of grievances. Initially, there was sympathy for Harry and Meghan, given their struggles within the royal bubble. But sympathy erodes when it becomes evident that the escape from monarchy wasn't about personal freedom but trading one court for another, this time, the court of public opinion and brand sponsorships. And what about their content output? The big ideas that were supposed to shift global consciousness? Non-existent. Aside from a podcast that could be summarized as a cocktail of self-indulgence and celebrity interviews, there's been no tangible value added to any cultural conversation. It's as if they believed simply being royal adjacent would carry them through the competitive landscape of modern media. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Harry reportedly wants to flee to Africa for a documentary project, which, frankly, feels like an act of desperation, another shallow attempt to recast himself as a savior. But the irony is thick. A man who once denounced his family's colonial history is now positioning himself as a kind of noble explorer. The optics alone are a PR minefield. As for Meghan, well, relaunching her lifestyle brand, the TIG, feels like a throwback to a simpler time when influences ruled unchallenged. But Meghan is no longer the fresh-faced Hollywood actress trying to climb the ladder. She's polarizing, which is kryptonite in the branding world. Companies want mass appeal, not a polarizing figure who evokes visceral reactions from both sides of the aisle. When celebrities try to build entire empires on identity politics and controversy without delivering real results, the backlash is swift. Social media might amplify your voice, but it's a double-edged sword. Just ask Bud Light, whose attempt at progressive marketing tanked their stock overnight. If even beer can get cancelled, what chance does a polarizing duchess stand? It's simple. Substance matters. You can't build a lasting legacy by throwing stones at the house you fled. At some point, people will stop watching the spectacle and turn their attention to someone who offers solutions, not more problems. Harry and Meghan's biggest mistake wasn't leaving the royal family. It was thinking they could manufacture authenticity while burning every bridge behind them. In the end, you either evolve or become a relic. And unless they make some radical changes, they are veering dangerously toward the latter. At the heart of it, Harry and Meghan's story serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that fame without foundation is fleeting. For a moment, they seemed untouchable, basking in the glow of their post-royal rebellion. But now, the world is moving on. Sympathy has been replaced by scrutiny, and if they continue to chase relevance without purpose, they'll find themselves stuck in a cycle of diminishing returns, fading echoes of a once compelling narrative. Reinvention isn't impossible, but it demands humility, self-awareness, and a willingness to let go of the victimhood that's become their brand's backbone. Until then, they remain architects of their own undoing. The world loves a redemption arc, but only for those willing to write it. And the question remains, will they? Or is this just the latest act in their slow fade into obscurity? Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.